Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's class. And today we'll be covering a very important topic from our environment and ecology part, also our current affairs related topic. A very important topic because it has renewable energy in it, which is the future of our country. In terms of, if we talk about the energy sector, yes, it is the sustainable and a renewable future in the energy sector. So, without wasting any time, let's just see what this topic is all about. As always, I will be dividing my lecture into 5 parts. First would be the context. We will be understanding as to why are we reading this topic and why is it important for our exam perspective. Second, we will be understanding the definitions, the important definitions regarding this topic, regarding renewable energy and other things, whatever is mentioned in the slides. Then we will see the benefits of it, which is one of the important headings of this today's lecture, because there's huge benefit. There are huge benefits of renewable energy, and we will be dealing with all of them. After benefits, we will be understanding certain challenges associated with renewable energy, or what are the problems we are facing in achieving the targets we have set. And finally, we will end our topic with a way forward or a conclusion. Right? So first thing first, let's understand the context first. What is the context? Recently, we all must have seen in the news that COP26 held, जिसमें हमने कुछ commitments, कुछ targets लेने का हमने commit किया as a country. So we will be dealing with all those targets, but the major target, one of the major targets out of all the targets we committed in that meeting, was achieving 500 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030. ठीक है? Or we will be doing this, 50% of India's energy needs would be met from the renewable energy. So this is what we committed at COP26. Yes, we will be understanding what COP26 and what COP is for that matter, and all the commitments and the targets we have tried to put there. Okay, so let's first understand what is COP. COP, you all must be knowing, is Conference of Parties. And this is a framework which comes under what? UNFCCC, which is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Right? So this is just a meeting, a global meeting, wherein global leaders come together and they decide upon the things which could be done to improve our climate change, or to mitigate or to reduce the greenhouse gases. And this framework comes under UNFCCC, right? I will be dealing with, or I will be listing out certain important COPs, Conference of Parties. Mind you, I'm not listing all the COPs, all the important sessions, or all the important meetings. I'll only be listing out certain important ones so that you get a brief idea about these meetings. So, COP1, which was held in 1995, and where the place is Berlin. Sometimes the place becomes also important. So make sure that you just keep an idea of the places and the years. You don't need to get into the details, or you don't need to, mug up them really hard. But yes, you can have an idea about all these things. Berlin, which is in Germany. Then we talk about COP3. Again, a very important session, a very important meeting, which is famously known as Kyoto Protocol. UPSC has asked questions about this on this. Okay? Hence, this is important for us, and UPSC can again ask questions on this. Therefore, it's very important for us to understand 1997 was the year when it happened. Kyoto is a place which is in, Kyoto is a city which is in Japan. Okay. A very factual point I'd like to tell you here, that it is a non-legally binding. that you cannot force this treaty on countries कि वो अपने countries में इसको legally binding करे. So this is not a legally binding treaty और इसके repercussions भी हमें बहुत सारे देखने को मिले हैं. चीज़ें अच्छे से implement नहीं हो पाती हैं. But for our exam perspective, we just need to understand, we just need to know that it is not legally binding and occurred in 1997 at a place in Japan. Okay? Okay. Now, another thing which is important, that what Kyoto Protocol was all about. We've understood that it is not legally binding. Okay, it comes under this framework of UNCCC. This was session number 3. But we also need to understand what was the major objective or what was the major aim of this treaty. So the major aim was to reduce or to mitigate the greenhouse gases, right? Greenhouse gases को mitigate करने के लिए from our environment, from our climate, this treaty or this protocol came into place. Greenhouse gases like, for example, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide. There are many actually. ठीक है? Hydrofluorocarbons, etc. There are a lot of greenhouse gases which Kyoto Protocol aimed to mitigate or aimed to reduce at its meeting. Next comes COP21. This topic of conference of parties cannot be, we cannot even think of getting it completed without discussing COP number 21, the session number 21, which is famously known as, and this is very, very important for our exam perspective, Paris Agreement. ये न्यूज़ में भी काफ़ी बार होता है, hence it becomes all the more important for us to understand it, and UPSC has asked questions about it. It can ask in future as well, और ये न्यूज़ में भी काफ़ी होता है. That is why it's very important for us to understand it. 2015 was the year, right, when this came into place. And Paris Agreement, again, what was the aim of it? When we are reading about any session or any meeting or any conference, we need to understand कि इसका objective क्या था, इसका major aim क्या था, major goal क्या था. So Paris Agreement also holds a very important objective to it, which is to limit the global temperature. It is talking about the global temperature, to limit the global temperature well below 2 degrees Celsius, right? But preferably how much? Preferably 1.5 degrees Celsius, that we have to try keeping the global temperature well below 2 degrees Celsius, but we will first prefer to keep it 1.5 degrees Celsius only. Okay? We'll try to keep it below 1.5 degrees Celsius only, above pre-industrial level. Right? This was the major target, pre-industrial level. This was the major target of Paris Agreement. I hope the series is clear to you. First, COP is Conference of Parties, which is a framework under UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, right? Then COP1, held in Berlin, Germany in 1995. Then COP3, which is Kyoto Protocol, famously called as Kyoto Protocol, 1997 where it took place, and it is a non-legally binding treaty. Paris 1, this Paris Agreement is a legally binding treaty. Okay? Hence it becomes all the more important also, because legally binding treaties or agreements are always important. Then we have also seen the aim of Kyoto Protocol, which is to mitigate the greenhouse gases. We have also listed some of the greenhouse gases, not all. You must make a list of it, because UPSC ने ये भी question पूछा हुआ है. They've given you the list of it. They've given you the list of greenhouse gases, and they've asked you to filter out the greenhouse gases among the options it has mentioned, right? Then we came to COP26, which is Paris Agreement, held in 2015, जिसका aim था to keep the temperature well below 2 degrees Celsius, and we have to initially prefer it to keep it well below 1.5 degrees only, okay, above pre-industrial level, right? I hope this was clear to you. Now, coming back to our today's topic, which is COP26. Okay? In the same series or in the same chronology, we will also be dealing with COP26, which is session number 26, which held last year only. और उसमें स्पेशली इंडिया के पर्सपेक्टिव से बहुत ही मेजर कमिटमेंट्स थे. वी विल ऑल्सो बी डीलिंग विद ऑल दोज कमिटमेंट्स एज वेल, बट बिफोर दैट COP26 Glasgow में it took place, which is in UK, right? Under COP26, there were 4 goals the global leaders basically targeted or committed. The 4 goals. Let's try and understand what are those 4 goals before we get into the details of the India's commitment. Let's try to understand the global commitments first. The 4 goals were, first was net zero by 2050. Second was protecting communities and natural habitat. Third was mobilizing finance. I think the writing is clear to you. If not, I'm dictating everything. Mobilizing finance. And the last one was work together to deliver. Okay. I'll again repeat all the 4 goals. Net zero by 2050, net zero as in the net carbon emissions. Don't worry, I'll be elaborating all of them step by step. But first one was net zero by 2050. Second was protecting communities and natural habitats. Third was mobilizing finance. And fourth was work together to deliver. Let's try and understand each one of them step by step. The first one was net zero by 2050. That is, we have to reduce the carbon emissions to what? To zero by 2050. Okay? As a global community, as a global team, we have to reduce the carbon emissions by net zero, right? By 2050. And how can we do that? We can do that by various steps. Like, for example, we can phase out the use of coal, right? We can curtail the greenhouse gas emissions. We can promote or we can increase afforestation. Etc. There are a lot of ways through which we can reduce the carbon emissions and reach to the global target of achieving net zero by 2050. This was the major goals we as a global community committed at COP26. Next was protecting communities and habitats. This is that we need to adapt to certain technologies and we need to adapt to certain habits so that we can protect the communities as well as the natural habitat, the natural ecology or the natural ecosystem against what? Against the deteriorating climate and its conditions. So this is also something we need to protect and we need to achieve. Third was mobilizing finance. Now, who will mobilize this finance and what this finance is all about? We all know that the developed countries are the historical emitters because wahan par industrial revolution has started way before then the developing countries. So it is their responsibility to give funds or to mobilize the developing countries so that they can adapt certain technologies which can help mitigating the climate change, which they have promised also. They have promised to give the developing countries $, how much? I think 100, they have promised to give $100 million to the developing countries. Okay. The last one was work together to deliver. This is what work together to deliver. What we need to work together upon, we need to work together upon the things we promised in Paris Agreement. So we need to make a list of the targets जो हमने Paris Agreement के time पे we promised, so that we can deliver them on time and properly, right? So this was about the 4 goals of COP26, which took place in Glasgow, United Kingdoms. I hope this much is clear to you. Now, coming back to our today's lecture, which is the 500 gigawatts energy targets we promised to achieve in COP26. All right, I'll just quickly tell you the 5 promise which we did, which India did. Which India did on COP26. So, yeah, here it is. The first target or the first promise announced was that we will be achieving, or we will be, raising our renewable energy to 500 gigawatts by 2030. This was the first target, or this was the first commitment we did, that we will be raising our energy, production to 500 gigawatts in terms of the renewable energy I'm talking about. So the first agenda is to raise the non-fossil based energy capacity. Non-fossil is this only, the renewable thing. So we talked about increasing renewable energy sources to 500 gigawatts by 2030. This is important. The year is important. And of course, the unit which we have promised. The second target which we tried to put there was that 2030 tak hi 50% of the country's energy requirement would be met using renewable energy sources. So whatever we're using right now, suppose 100% हम जो भी energy consumption कर रहे हैं, उसमें से 50% we will be using through the renewable energy sources by 2030. This is again what we have targeted upon. Third is that we will be reducing the total projected carbon emission also by 1 billion ton 2030 तक. ठीक है, कार्बन एमिशंस को हम 2030 तक 1 बिलियन टन कम करेंगे. The fourth commitment we did in COP26 was carbon intensity ko bhi we will reduce it to 45% by again 2030. Now what is carbon intensity? Carbon intensity is basically the grams of carbon dioxide needed to produce 1 gram of, or you can say 1 unit of electricity, not 1 gram of electricity. So I'll repeat. The number of, or the grams of carbon dioxide needed to produce 1 unit of electricity is called carbon intensity, and we are targeting to reduce this as well by 45%, and that too with the same targeted year, that is 2030. Initially हमने 35% reduce करने का सोचा था, but now we have raised it to 45%, right? The next one, the next one is the fifth point is, so the point number 5, or the fifth promise we did was, this was the fifth promise. The final agenda was the country would become the carbon neutral and achieve net zero emission by 2070. Okay, I know you all must be you all must be aware of this fact, which I've just told you, that as a global community we have decided to reach that net zero level by 2050. But India, as a country, as an individual country, have decided to reach this target by 2070, and we have a reason for it. See, we are a developing country. We have such a huge population. So even 2070 is good enough for us to target this, provided we implement things at a proper, with a proper pace. So on time. So 2070 भी खराब नहीं है. तो अगर net zero emission हम 2070 तक भी achieve कर लेते हैं, it is a brilliant job we will be doing, right? Now, I will be listing out I'll be listing out certain schemes or certain initiatives which we started to achieve the target of renewable energy in our country. The government has started these initiatives. Like, for example, this is the list of those initiatives. I would like all of you to make a note of it, because ये काफ़ी एक ही comprehensive जगह पे एक ही जगह पर आपको मिल रही है. So make sure that you make a note of it so that you can quote quote this list or quote these examples in your mains examination. Also, if they ask you in prelims, you must know about each and every initiative or each and every scheme which was launched by the government. The first is wind energy revolution. It is in the area of wind energy, of course, again to achieve the target of renewable energy. Second is National Biofuel Policy, or SATAT. National Biofuel Policy, actually, it started in 2018, and it aimed at taking forward the target of achieving 20% blending of biofuels with the fossil fuels. I'm giving you the space so that you can write them in your notes. So it basically achieved that 20% blending of the biofuels with the fossil fuels, right? This is what National Biofuel Policy was all about, and it started in 2018. If we talk about SATAT, it stands for Sustainable Alternative Towards Affordable Transportation, again, so that we can reduce the vehicular pollution. The third one is small hydropower. Again, it will also help in increasing the position of our country in terms of the renewable energy. The fourth one is National Hydrogen Energy Mission. National Hydrogen Energy Mission is basically to target, or to make our country a hydrogen hub of the energy, and indirectly increase the renewable energy sources of our country and achieve the targets we have promised in COP26. And even otherwise, even before COP26, we had certain targets which we were trying to achieve. But yes, in COP26, we increased those targets to 500 gigawatts, and all those five points I've just listed, the Panchamrit, which we call, right? Next is production link incentives schemes, or PLI scheme. It is basically to boost the manufacturing in our country. So the government gives, what happens in PLI, government gives certain incentives to the manufacturers so that manufacturing can happen in our own country. हमें import पे dependency हमारी कम हो सके, right? And make in India भी हमारा इसे better होगा. So if we talk about the PLI pertaining to renewable energy, so what is happening here, that manufacturing is happening in the field of solar photovoltaic cells and modules, especially because here we're talking about the energy sector. So manufacturing is done in the photovoltaic cells and modules, right? Government is giving incentives to the manufacturers to boost the manufacturing and to reduce the import dependency. This was about PLI scheme. Next, we've already discussed National Biofuel Policy. Okay. Next up, we have PM Kisan Urja Suraksha Evam Utthan Maha Abhiyan, a very important scheme. Put a star mark here because this is a very famous scheme. बहुत ज़्यादा news में भी रही है since the time it has started. So basically, it aims to add the solar and other renewable capacity with central finances, and in turn, it will also increase the farmers' income, which our government has also envisioned to double the farmers' income by 2022. The same scheme will help in achieving that as well. Next scheme we have, scheme for development of solar parks and ultra mega power projects. Up next we have Atal Jyoti Yojana. Atal Jyoti Yojana is a scheme which is related to street light projects. So this will be illuminating the dark regions of our country by putting the street lights across the country. Next up, we have developing of solar cities scheme. So here we are planning to develop the solar cities. How? By reducing the minimum 10% in demand of conventional energy and focus on the renewable energy. So here we will be doing what? We will be reducing the demand of conventional energy resources, or you can say the fossil fuels से जो भी हम energy अपनी produce करते थे, we will be reducing it by 10% at least under this scheme, and we will focus on the renewable energy or the renewable sources more and more to achieve, again, to achieve the same targets or to enhance our renewable energy projects. Next is Green Energy Corridor Project. Green Energy Corridor Project. So this will be a corridor project wherein they will be synchronizing the energy produced by the conventional sources and from the renewable sources on the grid. So this will be a synchronization scheme basically. Third hamara hai scheme for biomass based cogeneration project. So biomass based cogeneration project, this is basically for the sugar mills जिसको जहाँ पर ठीक है शुगर मिल्स के लिए है जहाँ पर हम काफ़ी सारी चीज़ों को यूज़ करके वी कैन ऑल्सो यूटिलाइज देम अंडर द रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी right. I hope all these schemes and all these initiatives are clear to you. I again would like to request you to make a note of it, right? Okay then, moving ahead. I'm so sorry, this is actually not working properly, but yeah. Yes, talking about the renewable energy is nothing but just a source of energy जो कि जैसे for example the solar, wind, tidal wave and hydroelectric power which are not derived from the fossil fuel. So there's a conventional source of energy and this is the modern or the new or the renewable source of energy which we do not derive from the fossil fuels. ठीक है, जो कि naturally हमें चीज़ों से मिलती हैं. Like for example solar को we can utilize to produce the renewable energy. Wind energy we can use, tidal energy, wave energy and hydroelectric energy we can use. So this was just a brief about, and it's very easy. There's nothing to make you understand about what is renewable energy. That's very easy for you to understand. Next up, we have reasons for the growth of renewable energy. Now, what are the reasons? Why is it the future of the country in terms of the energy, in the energy sector? What are the reasons that it is growing? The first one is the first one is we know that we are increasing the electricity coverage through various schemes, like for example through Saubhagya scheme, which is Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana. It is a scheme which started in 2017. We all must be aware about this because this was again a very famous scheme. बहुत ज़्यादा newspapers ने भी इसको cover किया था. सौभाग्य scheme, Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana, right? 2017. It is basically to achieve a universal electrification across all the households, right? So yes, since we are doing, since we are focusing upon such schemes, the electricity coverage of course is expanding, and we need to achieve that expansion. We need to achieve the demands of the people, the demands of the electricity generating. I mean, people are demanding. We need to fulfill that demand. Second is rise in energy demand. That's the same thing that since the urbanization is increasing, the population is increasing, there's of course a rise in demand and we need to complete that. So we definitely need to look up for the alternative solutions, and not just the alternative solution, mind you, it is the most sustainable solution we're looking for, and we are working on these lines. So this is the most sustainable solution. So apart from the conventional or the fossil fuels wala electricity, we also need to look up for such alternatives for our energy demands also, as well as for the sustainability of our environment also, right? So this was the second point, that there is a rise in demand. Okay, the third would be, the next would be, why there is a increase is the economic growth. We know that after COVID, actually when there was COVID, the slowdown was there in the economy, but once everything got reduced, the economy started opening up. So definitely when it started opening up, there was more and more need of the energy, right, for the industry to grow more and more. So in that perspective also, in that regards also, economic growth jaise jaise hui, we needed more and more energy for our economy to grow more and more. The next was acceptance of electric mobility. Why we are accepting electric mobility? See, because it is not just efficient as a technology, but it is also sustainable. And mind you, sustainability is the most important factor here, because we really need to do something to protect our environment and the climate. So we are accepting the electric mobility क्योंकि ये sustainable भी है and efficient, of course efficient है. Next up we have rise in importance of clean energy. So why the clean energy or the renewable energy is rising? What are the reasons behind it? The first one would be Paris climate deal, which happened, which I've already discussed with you. 2015 में it got happened, and which aimed at reducing the temperature to 2 degrees Celsius, well below 2 degrees Celsius, and preferably 1.5 degrees Celsius. So we have committed this in Paris climate deal, that we will be maintaining that temperature, and we will be keeping that temperature well below 2 degrees Celsius only. So in order to meet that same commitment, we are focusing more and more towards the renewable energy, towards producing more and more renewable energy. And this is one of the reasons why we see the rise in clean energy or the renewable energy, right? And apart from decreasing energy intensity and creation of carbon sink, India has committed itself to meet 40% of its total energy demands from non-fossil sources. This we committed at Paris climate deal, but at COP16 we even increased it to 10 more percent. That is, now we are at 50%. 50% हमें renewable sources से हमें energy consumption अपना करना है. Initially it was 40%. Now we have increased it even further to 50% at COP26. Now, of course, one of the targets of COP26, which we just read, कि 500 gigawatts हम produce करेंगे by 2030. So this also we have to achieve, and in order to achieve it, we definitely need to invest more and more in renewable sources of energy. Next up, we have International Solar Alliance, or ISA, a very important alliance. ठीक है? UPSC might ask you a question on this, so I would like all of you to pay attention here. So it is basically a group of countries which are completely or partially lies between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. Okay? And what they aims at, or what is their objective? Their objective is to efficiently, or to consume all the solar resources they have, okay, to produce more and more solar energy. Its headquarters is in Gurgaon. Right? And it is as the name indicates, it is a solar alliance, so that solar energy को अच्छे से वो सारी countries मिलके अच्छे से consume कर सके efficiently और ज़्यादा productive बना सके. Hence, again, moving one step ahead, achieving renewable energy. Or renewable energy में भी solar energy is, I think, leading, क्योंकि solar energy का ही production हम सबसे ज़्यादा कर रहे हैं. So it was very important to make such alliance, to make such groups. So yeah, that was about ISA. Up next we have impact of COVID. Impact of COVID, I've told you कि COVID की वजह से काफ़ी सारा cleanliness पे भी हमारा focus चला गया है. And like I've mentioned already कि क्योंकि economy भी slow down था economy में भी, but as soon as things opened, we required a lot of energy, and to meet all those demands our economy demanded, तो हमें ये सब sources, we had to come up with these sources. Also, COVID taught us this importance of cleanliness, and that is why the thermal energy, we know क्योंकि ये fossil fuel से आता था, and that was one of the major emitters of the pollution. So we tried to shift ourselves towards a cleaner source of energy, that is the renewable energy. And air pollution, we all know air pollution तो conventional sources की वजह से होता ही है, right? So to cope up with this issue as well, we started producing more and more renewable sources of energy, right? If we talk about certain status in terms of renewable energy only, India के perspective से. So India ranks third in the renewable energy. ठीक है. India is the third country जो कि, I mean, it ranks third in the renewable energy country attractive index. First is, I guess, US and then China. And ours is the third country. Actually, we were fourth initially. We were fourth, but क्योंकि हमने solar एनर्जी में काफ़ी ज़्यादा एक्सपेंशन किया है, काफ़ी ज़्यादा इन्वेस्टमेंट रिसेंटली किया है, सो we jumped to third position from fourth. Next, we have the country has set an ambitious target to achieve the capacity 175 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2022, जो कि 2030 तक 5 gigawatts में हम expand कर देंगे, जो हम already पढ़ चुके हैं, which is also a commitment in COP26, right? Apart from that, we have also we have also installed renewable energy capacity, which has increased by over 2.5 times and stand at more than 141 gigawatts, which is about 37% of the country's total capacity. और 100% FDI भी हमने allow कर दिया है through automatic route for the renewable energy generation and distribution projects. ठीक है? And all of this was done under the Electricity Act 2003. So these were some of the facts you can remember. Okay? You can definitely code such kind of facts in your exam. Up next, we have the benefits. Like I've told you that we will be dealing with the benefits of renewable energy as well as the challenges it is facing. And then at last, we will end our lecture with a way forward or a conclusion. What are the benefits of renewable energy? The first benefit is opportunity to the private sector. We know that since we have to invest more and more into this, so we need to give these projects, we need to give these deals to the private sectors also, so they can also get benefits from this, right? They can also earn from this. So yes, we know कि हमें 500 गीगावाट का जो एक टारगेट है वो अचीव करना है, and in order to achieve that target, what we have to do, we need to give such projects to the private sector, and hence we can help them as well, gaining some profit out of it. So we need to augment the renewable energy capacity by almost 25 to 30 gigawatts per year. Then only we can achieve this target of 500 gigawatts, and for that private sector can help us. So this is definitely an opportunity for the private sectors to get a high return on the investment they are doing in the renewable energy sources or this area. Second is लो मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट, क्योंकि वेयर एंड टीयर ज़्यादा नहीं होता है रेन्यूएबल एनर्जी के फील्ड में, सो मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट भी काफ़ी कम आती है. देयरफॉर दिस इज अगेन वन ऑफ द बेनिफिट्स ऑफ रेन्यूएबल एनर्जी. थर्ड इज गवर्नमेंट इंसेंटिव्स. गवर्नमेंट इज प्रोवाइडिंग अ लॉट ऑफ इंसेंटिव, स्पेशली सोलर पे बहुत ज़्यादा इंसेंटिव्स गवर्नमेंट दे रही है. सो वी कैन एक्सपैंड दी sources, or we can expand the usage of renewable energy. Again, one of the most important benefits of renewable energy. Then next is sustainability. We all know this, that it will reduce the pollution, it will help mitigate a lot of problematic things in our climate, it will reduce the greenhouse gas emission, which was one of the targets of Kyoto Protocol as well. And it will also help in achieving a lot of agreements and alliances we made, like for example, the Paris Agreement, the COPs, especially the COP26. So it will help in all of that. So definitely it is sustainable as well as efficient. Again, I think the most important benefit of renewable energy. Next we have is Atmanirbhar Bharat, because it will create a lot of employment, और manufacturing भी हम boost कर रहे हैं अपने country में, so it will make our country self-reliant, that is Atmanirbhar. Okay. Up next we have, apart from the benefits, the last benefit of the day, the last benefit of renewable energy is, the last mile connectivity. I have told you about the schemes like Saubhagya scheme, which started in 2017, universal household electrification के लिए, through what? Through last mile connectivity. This is what last mile connectivity is, क्योंकि हम the renewable sources of energy can be decentralized, and we can provide, we can, we can make it universal in our country, hence achieving this goal of last mile connectivity. Therefore it is important, और transmission और distribution losses जो होते हैं, जो conventional sources of energy में काफ़ी सारे हमें losses देखने को मिलते हैं, वो भी यहाँ पर कम होंगे. Again a very good point, again a very brilliant benefit of it, right? All right, so these were some of the benefits of it. Now moving ahead, okay, this is just a graph, nothing to do much about it. This is just a graph. Some figures are showing as to how much we have installed in which sector, and yeah, how much is under implementation, or हमने total installation कितना किया है. Like for example, solar is ahead of all the other sectors. As I've told you कि solar में हम सबसे ज़्यादा invest कर रहे हैं. We have already invested, we have already installed 94.6 gigawatts in solar, right? Total हमने अभी तक, if we calculate all the sectors, if we combine all the sectors, we have installed 166.63 gigawatts of energy till date. So this was just a graph, just some of the figures to make you clear about in which sector how much we are investing. All right, now what are the challenges faced by the renewable energy sector? Now of course कोई भी चीज़ होती है उसमें challenges, especially when we go to implement it, there are certain challenges we face. Same goes with the renewable energy. The renewable energy sector is also facing certain challenges. First is उसका main grid से integration में problem आ रहा है, ठीक है? This is what the first challenge talks about. Cost factor उसका काफ़ी ज़्यादा है क्योंकि मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट कम है, बट इनिशियली जब हम चीज़ों को शुरू करते हैं, इट कम्स एक्सपेंसिव इफ यू टॉक अबाउट, इफ यू कंपेयर इट विद द कन्वेंशनल सोर्सेज ऑफ एनर्जी और द फॉसिल फ्यूल्स सोर्सेज ऑफ एनर्जी. द थर्ड इज 24/7 पावर सप्लाई से नहीं हो पाएगी, ठीक है, क्योंकि या सो एंड हेंस डिमांड में प्रॉब्लम आ सकती है. This was something we targeted to achieve. We wanted to complete, we wanted to, address the demand of our country. But 24/7 agar electricity supply nahi hogi, so this could again be a major challenge in renewable sector. Third is agricultural sector. We need to provide sufficient energy, or we need to provide sufficient electricity so that the household and the agriculture, both दोनों की ही demands could be met. But वो थोड़ा करना मुश्किल दिख रहा है हमें. दैट इज़ वाई एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर को इलेक्ट्रिसिटी पहुँचे टाइमली और प्रॉपरली is something we need to, is something which is again a challenge yet. All right, the last slide of the day, which is the way forward or a conclusion. Way forward is what could be done to solve the problems. This is what we list out in the way forward, ठीक है. The first thing is कि इंडिया के पास जो capacity है, that is of achieving 900 gigawatts. Yes, we have targeted of achieving 500 gigawatts by 2030, but we have the capacity to achieve 900 gigawatts, and we must utilize it. So this is one of the way forward that we can go about achieving this much. Yes, we know कि this is a nascent sector, अभी initial stages पे है, so we need to take good care of it, right? So financial assistance की ज़रूरत होगी, so our government must keep these things in mind to give proper assistance, to give proper guidance, to give proper technology to these kind of emerging sectors. The government must undertake all the measures necessary to increase the investment in research and development also, right? बल्क प्रोडक्शन हम कर सकते हैं ताकि जब हम किसी भी चीज़ का बल्क प्रोडक्शन व्हेन वी डू, उसकी कॉस्ट ऑटोमेटिकली रिड्यूस हो जाती है. सो इन ऑर्डर टू रिड्यूस द कॉस्ट वी कैन डू दिस बल्क प्रोडक्शन, राइट, टू रिड्यूस द कॉस्ट लाइक आई हैव टोल्ड यू. एट लास्ट we will end our today's lecture with a conclusion, and the conclusion is that yes, this is the energy of future, a very sustainable and a very efficient source of energy. We must work on these same lines, work on these targets, work on these commitments we committed in COP26 especially, and even before that we've committed a lot more, especially at a global level and also at a national level. So we should work towards eliminating the fossil fuel based energy, and we should work towards a cleaner planet and a greener planet together. With this, we come to the end of this lecture. I hope it was helpful. Thank you so much.